are landing on Cryptex land. Get off the ship and take a walk. Take any guitar and start your own band. Here you can sing, here you can talk, here you can say whatever you want. Here you can stay, become a mutant. Just try to be nice. For hate there is no space. Don't skate on thin ice. You better not run that race. The race of the trolls, the race of the hate. I will show you the rules. Don't hate but create. You are landing on Cryptex land. Get off the ship and take a walk. Take any guitar and start your own band. Here you can sing, here you can talk, here you can say whatever you want. Here you can stay, become a mutant. Just try to be nice. For hate there is no space. Don't skate on thin ice. You better not run that race. The race of the trolls, the race of the hate. I will show you the poles. Don't hate, but create. The race of the trolls, the race of the hate. I will show you the poles. Don't hate, but create.
Hello guys, how are you? Let me see who is here. We have Precosint. I don't remember, is Precosint or Precosint? I always forget. How is the pronunciation? Simdal from the Netherlands. How are you, Simdal? Everything is good there. I'm okay. It's hot a little bit here. Summertime is starting here, so we are gonna have a couple of months of sun and summer. So yeah, I really don't like too much. The summertime here is really hot. I don't like the winter, but it is what it is. Kimosabi, how are you, Kimosabi? Happy to have you here. Simdal, same. Summer well underway here. Even got to swim this week. That's good, man. Enjoy your summertime. Mother of Dragons is here. So today I want to talk about the lost tip, the Dan Dulin situation. Why? Just because I think that this subject is really fascinating. I think that a lot of questions that we still have, or that some of us we still have about the case, we can find the answer there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play some videos that I have here. Let me just stop sharing this screen. So remember that this week we had a live streaming with Salute Intuition and with Finn. I think both of them are really smart. They have different views about the case. And at one point of the streaming, the subject was discussed. The lost narrative, the lost tip narrative, I mean. So I want to repeat that part just to start the conversation about it. So I'm gonna share here that section of the live streaming. Is gonna take maybe, I don't know, 5 minutes. I find that the conversation was really interesting. So let's do it now. I think that we can agree that we don't know the whole story here. That's one point we can agree, all of us.
Well, yeah, I can agree we don't know the whole story because law enforcement are liars and they didn't lose the tip no matter how many times they want to make up that as part of the story. Correct. There is something more to it. And there's also
proof of that?
Very obvious things like
you don't have any proof of that.
The folder was marked cleared, but we won't say who cleared it or how it was cleared. We absolutely know in reality there's definitely somebody responsible for something, but they won't tell us. And they certainly know. So yes, we don't have the whole story.
So you like that conspiracy, but not mine.
It's not a conspiracy. It's completely
logical. The narrative is that Shank found it in a cabinet drawer, right? In a drawer. She opened it.
No,
and there it was.
Stop skipping ahead, dude.
That's how they found Richard Allen.
Their story is that it was marked cleared, right?
When they
had
found
cleared written on it. So the pen can't write itself and write cleared on something. Somebody has to physically do that. That's just
Dulin handed it to a female FBI.
Somebody is responsible for doing that.
Employee.
What's that?
Well, we know that Dulin handed it to a female FBI employee.
I don't know that.
Yeah, that's a fact.
I don't know who cleared it.
I don't know who cleared it, but I'm saying that's a good place to start, right? Dulin and then that female employee. Where did it go from there?
Right, I'm saying that. I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm
with you there. I'm trying to join with you.
It has nothing to. There's nothing to base it off of. But certainly somebody cleared it, and even if it was completely by accident, then that's the answer. You know.
There you go. Yeah, that's probably what happened.
No, but you can just say that, but that's not probably what happened. There's nothing that makes that probably what happened. We just don't know. We have
it's likely
lack of information.
It's likely, right?
How he was cleared. Most likely, no, that's not how it happened.
So why is your conspiracy better than mine?
He was cleared for good reason. Because you don't clear people in a murder investigation for no reason at all. That doesn't.
So you don't agree that Kathy Shank just stumbled across the tip?
It's somewhat beside the point. I'm not ruling it out
because you don't want to agree that if you don't, that's a conspiracy.
But you also just can't stumble across a tip that's in the Orion system. It's in a database that's just
but you got folders. It could be hidden.
No, it's not. That's not.
It's like a computer.
Yes, dude. I mean, it is like a computer, but the tips are all numbered, you know.
Maybe this one wasn't. Maybe it was
this one
labeled
was
cleared.
Numbered. They absolutely were numbered.
Maybe it was in a folder of cleared early tips that were missed.
Right, and that requires somebody. It requires a person to do the clearing part. So that, there's not anything to argue about here because this is just the way reality works. If it was cleared, somebody is responsible for clearing.
Yes, okay, they cleared it. Now
that is a name that is being not provided to us.
Okay, so then
the rationale for doing it, maybe they were daydreaming about.
But you already said it could have been done by a mistake, dude.
Cleared on every single tip.
I'm exhausted again.
Is that realistic? No, not really. Is it possible? Sure. Maybe
I'm about to check out.
Haphazardly clearing every single tip like a maniac. Not realistic, though.
Good talk, Phoenix. Good talk.
I think we are never gonna be. So that was the short clip about the discussion that Finn and Sleuth Intuition had about the lost tip. I think that Finn, he has very good points there. Someone cleared that tip, or someone cleared Richard Allen. Who? I want to know who had that power inside the agency to clear people, to clear tips. I imagine that at one point a lot of tips were cleared, let's say, but who was in charge of that? Who had the power? I really would like to know who had that power for that type of clearance. So I'm gonna go with some questions, some comments here in the chat before going with the next video. Simdal says that he doesn't think that the FBA agrees with the conclusions made by the locals. I tend to agree with you. Again, I think there was a lot of friction between the different agencies, the FBI, the GBI, and of course ISP and Carroll County. So yeah, a lot of ego. They want to solve the case like in a separate way. So for some reason, that combination of resources couldn't be part of the investigation for a long time. It was just during a short time of period, in my opinion, and that's a shame because we know the type of resources that agencies like the FBI or the Georgia Bureau of Investigation they have. So that's sad. There's a question, a comment here from True Crime Web. Hello, Steve. Happy to have you here. He says that depends if the wording is clear or cleared. What if the clear word was instructive to follow up and misinterpreted as cleared? So you mean that word was like a tip to clear? I get your point, but if that was the case, that was a bad way to give an instruction. So yeah, I would prefer to have something like a tip to follow or tip to investigate, but tip to clear is like go and clear it, you know. So maybe that's a possibility, but if that was the case, how many tips were cleared? If that was the standard procedure of law enforcement to follow tips, if every single tip that they have, the instruction was clear, a lot of tips could be, a lot of suspects could be cleared following your hypothesis, which makes sense maybe, but it's a mess if that was the case. It's worst. Kimosabi, she works from home. Maybe Ed was asked to clear it. Bad joke. Simdal, everything is a incel coffee dodger. What is coffin dodger? What is that? It's the family name of the FBI agent or what? She has the same theory for every case, and she coincidentally has a book on it. I don't know who is coffin dodger, guys. I'm lost here with you. Deja Vu, how are you, Deja? Just like Becky Hill in the Murdoch case. Yeah, and remember that the Murdoch case, I know it's different, but in some type of way, the cases are also similar. We are talking about small towns, and in those towns, there are people with power, with a lot of influence, like Murdoch. And remember that before the murder, in that case, there was another murder before where his son was implicated, and his son was protected by law enforcement because he had a lot of influence inside the law enforcement establishment, let's say. So could be something called conspiracy, but that type of conspiracies actually happen in small towns. People with power are protected sometimes, but law enforcement. So good comment. Toffer, I think it's the first time I see you here. I hope you're not gonna be one of those people. But if you are not, welcome to the jungle. Digital. Did Keegan Klein say in one interview that a CPS lady came to see him? If so, was it Shank? I don't know. I think I read this comment in my previous live, and I think it was maybe you, the one who commented, but I don't have any information. Maybe if you can give me some information about it. I don't know. I remember that he said that some lady came to see him, but I don't remember that it was a CPS lady. So good point, good question. She is ex-FBI, okay. Kimosabi. The drawer was in her desk that she didn't bother to open for 5 years. Yeah, it's very fishy, that the whole situation. I really don't buy that it was an accident or a clerical error. One of the persons that is really critical about that situation is Farmer. We know that I had that unfortunate event with Farmer, but I recognize that he does a deep research in some specific points of this case, and one of those points is the Dan Dulin situation. And I'm gonna play some extracts of a video he made recently, which I find very interesting. He really did a deep dive in that situation. So we're gonna play it soon. Steve, stupid things happen in investigations all the time. Miscommunications occur all the time. Yeah, but I think that in this case it was like the Olympus of the mistakes. I don't remember a case like this before. Maybe the Stephen Avery case, the West Memphis 3, John Bennett, but those were like, we should learn about those cases, but it seems that we are repeating the same type of mistakes over and over and over. And I think that law enforcement, they have to be accountable. I would love that a third party is going to be able to do an investigation about this specific lost tip situation, because that to me is unacceptable. I think that's not going to happen, but it's like a wish in my mind. But it's just unacceptable. It's too many mistakes here. And the problem is that when you have that type of incompetence, at one point you try to cover the mistakes or the errors, and that leads to corruption. So that's why there's a lot of conspiracy theories in this case as well. But because that's a fact, when you have an agency committing this type of mistakes over and over and over and over, at one point they're gonna cover their own mistakes. And how do you cover your mistakes? You know how to do it. Toffer says, thanks, Cryptex. No, you're welcome, man. I really love to see new people here in my channel. Simdal, Simdal says, Steve, maybe so, but in the digital age and with searchable databases, this should not occur, in my opinion. Yeah, and the whole excuse or pretext is that Delphi is a very small town with limited resources, and this is not an excuse. This is not a pretext, especially when you have the opportunity to have the support of the FBI, let's say. So, and as you say, Simdal, we are not in 1980 or 1990. This is the digital age. So 2017, you have all the tools to do an organized investigation, let's say. When you cannot find a lead, you go back to the beginning and triple check everything, of course, 100%. Especially during the first week or 2 weeks, we know that that's the critical point of the investigation. But even though we know that we have multiple interviews that were videotaped and that were lost. So this was really bad. Digital, Steve, stupid things like not testing a hair clutched in a victim's hand. I think Steve is fair about that. He recognizes that there were a lot of mistakes here. He's not accepting that type of errors. He's just pointing that, yeah, this type of errors happen. It shouldn't be the case, but I think he's fair and he recognizes that. He said that multiple times in his lives. To me, Steve is one of the most neutral. Even if you don't think so, I think he's one of the most neutral and how can I say, fair creators in this case, especially if you take into account that he comes from law enforcement, that he was a crime scene investigator. So for him, it would be easy just to go full defense of law enforcement, and that's not the case. He has been really critic to law enforcement, and I really appreciate that. Even if the conclusions at the end are different between him and me or you guys here. But I really had a mad respect for Steve. Rebecca, I have a hard time believing the tip narrative. You are not the only one. You are not the only one, for sure. Deja vu. Becky Hill, former county clerk, was arrested Wednesday with obstruction of justice and misconduct. Really, I didn't know. Good information. Was she in charge of I don't know, filing some tips here? That's a good. It's really interesting. USA Libertarian. Why would they not go back to all of the witnesses for 5 years, even if they were cleared? Yeah, no, and there's not only that. We know that according to law enforcement, the Ford Focus was one car with that type of characteristics in the whole Delphi and Carroll County area. And they spent 5 years to arrest the guy who was the owner of that car. How can you explain that? So here there's a lot of questions that is hard to understand. And when they went to the press conference in 2019, they were talking about the car, but they didn't want to. I don't understand the reason to show the picture of that car. It would be a great idea, I think, even before, as they did with the bridge guy image that was taken by Libby's phone. I don't know. This case is just a mess. Steve is answering to Simdal. He agrees. I often think that back to the 90s with the movement toward CSI professionals, and we see law enforcement has floundered. YouTubers talked to witnesses that law enforcement didn't even contact. I imagine that. Rebecca says there's still so many questions about this investigation, and it's because they messed it up so bad. I agree, 100%. Miss Haunted Parlor, the old man, 2017, is the one who said "down the hill" in the audio. Then again, what do I even know? Kelt, law enforcement only gets so many free passes until the public says, nope, not buying it anymore. According to Topher, this is the messiest case. I tend to agree. Kelt, Karen Reed's case is a mess too. Perhaps law enforcement has been getting away with being sloppy for too long. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you. Digital. Was Richard Allen the only one excluded from the inconclusive DNA? Was it even compared to others? Fields, Holder, Westphal, Logan, I would add Klein, all other men on the trails that day? I don't know if all of them were there on the trail, but since they should be considered suspects in this case, yes, I agree that a DNA comparison should have been done here. But who knows? Deja vu. Did the jury really see the big picture? Of course not. They didn't hear anything about the clients. I think the name of Ron Logan was not even allowed to be pronounced during the process. They used the word or the sentence the land owner or something like that. So imagine. We have our good friend, Don't Hate Create, Fishy. Fishy, what's going on? You are not playing any more videos in your channel, not playing any more live streamings. What's going on? I hope everything is okay on your side. And hopefully we can do some type of show together soon. Iwata is here. Iwata is in the house today. One of my favorite moderators here. So as I was telling you guys, a creator that is really critic about the Dan Dulin narrative is Farmer. It doesn't mean that because I had that situation with him, I don't see his videos. It doesn't change anything. I think he has a great mind, great ideas, and I really like his take in this subject specifically, the lost tip narrative. He has a good opinion about or information, let's say, or hypothesis about the ski mask incident, but that we can talk about it in a next live. So I'm gonna play the video he made about not the whole video, but some parts of the video about the lost tip. So let's go with that for a couple of minutes. I'm gonna stop the video from time to time to come back to you in the chat, guys.
And I'll put it back up here. Who wrote the word cleared on the tip in the box in the desk? The mystery box in the mystery desk with the mystery word cleared written on it. In whose handwriting was that written? Or was it a green dot? I only read that in one place. Everywhere else says it was literally handwritten, the word cleared. In one place said there was a green dot on it, signifying that it had been cleared. Now, okay, give me a second here. This is where we get crazy. Oh, yeah, there's crazy right there. Holy shit. Hang on. Make sure I get the right one here. Okay, well, I can't tell. I'm just going to dive into this one right here. All right. Let's see what we got here. Presuming everyone can see that. Okay. Maybe I'll pop it all up there. As much of a camera, whore as I am, I do want you guys to be able to read this. Okay. Let me, poop. I gotta, sorry, guys, I'm still kind of, here we go. Still kind of learning how to, move things around a little bit. But I think the good news is that I am moving things around. Okay, now this article is from October 28th, 2024. So it would be exactly 4 days after the testimony involving the tip narrative that was resurrected by one volunteer named Kathy Shank. Let me get to it. Okay, here we go. Boom. After years of seemingly cold investigation, despite Indiana State Police assurances the case was still active on September 21st, 2022, Kathy Shank, a volunteer who was tasked with scanning bankers' boxes full of files in a central investigative database, pulled open the drawer of a desk. Now, I'll show you an article in a minute that says her desk in a soon-to-be abandoned office and discovered a file that contained an initial tip sheet from February of 2017, just a couple days after the murders, in which a man listed as Rick Allen Whiteman called in to self-report. Keep that in mind. That's important, and I'll get back to why. That he was on the bridge that day. And if his name should come up, with investigators, and they wanted to ask him questions. On the tip sheet, someone had written the word cleared. Shank testified that she read the report and immediately identified a clerical error that misinterpreted Allen's home address of Whiteman Drive as his last name. Now, I have always contended that as an investigator taking and interviewing a possible or potential murder suspect, now he wasn't a murder suspect, but at that point, isn't everyone was there at the time that kind of looked like bridge guy a suspect, or should have been? That those people aren't always honest about the names.
I'm just gonna stop a second here. And that's another messy thing here. The name was not recorded properly. Richard Whiteman Allen or something like that, and that was potential confusion with the street where his house was located. But even though, what's the relationship between the name of Richard Allen being reported wrongly reported with the fact that the tip was marked as cleared? So to me, there's no relationship. There are two different and separate things, even if they are in somehow related. To me, that means that tip was or not followed, but to me, there's not an explanation that that tip or that person was cleared just because the name was not correctly, how can I say, recorded or written. Because if you are following a tip, at one point you're gonna be able to know that, okay, Richard Whiteman Allen, he doesn't exist, so this may be a mistake. Okay, it's Richard Allen. So it's not an explanation. It's not a valid explanation at all. It just add to the mess, to the chaos here. So I'm gonna continue with Farmer.
They give, yet somehow law enforcement's able to plug that information in and figure it out. And Kathy Shank was able to realize quickly that White, as a local, that Whiteman Drive was actually a road. Oh, thank you, Mrs. Shank. I think you may be the hero in this situation. The retired government employee took the file to Chief Deputy Tony Liggett of the Carroll County Sheriff's Department, who was running for sheriff in the upcoming election less than 2 months away. Give me a second. Well, there we go. Okay. And he immediately began an investigation into Allen, first confirming that he drove a black 2016 Ford Focus. A security camera captured the image of a car resembling Allen's vehicle parked at a business along County Road 300 North, which runs along the border of the private property where the bodies were found. Sarah Carbaugh told jurors she saw Bridge Guy walking along that road covered with mud as if he had fallen in a creek or down the hill. I don't remember that phrase that she said he said down the hill, but okay. Approximately 90 minutes after investigators say the girls were killed. Now, we know what time they went missing. It was just after 2 o'clock. Now you're talking 90. Now, so then they have to assign a time of death, which I think they did around 3 o'clock or something. Now you're talking 4:30. 4:30 in February. What time was it exactly? These are the details I need to know, because in February, and if they're under daylight savings time, by 5 o'clock in February, it could be getting relatively dark. Carbaugh did not say Allen resembled Bridge Guy. And even though the defendant is 5'4" and approximately 145 pounds, neither the prosecution nor the defense asked the witness to describe the size of the man she saw. Indiana Department of Natural Resources officer Dan Dulin. Now, nobody can get his god-dang title right. He's now captain of the Department of Natural Resources, Dan Dulin, but at the time was Lieutenant Daniel Dulin, lieutenant in charge of his department, who was tasked by the higher-ups in the Indiana State Police, and I can show you these articles, and it may come up in this one, to follow up leads based on his experience, which would have been full-time like any other state police, any other county or local police officer, not some fish and game warden. He was much more than that. You're not giving him the credit he deserves, and I'm not sure why. All the people around Mr. Dulin, including the news sources, go on to then say, well, it's probably because he's not used to having to, he's just used to, fixing up a wounded bird.
Yeah, great point. Great point from Farmer. We are just trying to close our eyes in that situation. Not us, a lot of people, I mean, saying that he was just in charge of taking the notes and passing the tip to the investigators, let's say, and that it was the responsibility of the investigators to follow that tip. And that can be true in some way, let's say, but as Farmer just said, he was trained to follow up this type of tips. And just the fact that he was present in the press conference of 2019 and he didn't say anything when Doug Carter was asking to the public for any person that could be involved in that situation, and he had that image of Bridge Guy, and it's just very, very fishy. So he didn't say anything when he was the one interviewing Richard Allen, just 3 days after the murders. So let's continue here.
Lieutenant Daniel Dulin of the Department of Natural Resources was fully trained like every other cop, and they tasked him, and I say they, the Indiana State Police, tasked him to follow up on leads on February 13th, 2017. He got that lead on the 16th. He waited 2 days to even bother to follow up on it. From somebody who self-reported being there at the time of a murder? Guys, this gets deeper and deeper, guys. Now, you can see what's here in the paper now. I ain't making this shit up. Dulin testified that he interviewed Allen in the parking lot of a grocery store after unsuccessful attempts to meet him at his home or at Delphi Police Headquarters. Because why? You couldn't find Whiteman Drive? Would you accidentally go to Allen Drive, thinking that was his street name?
Hey, hello guys. Sorry, but I have electrical problems here, so I'm using my cell phone right now. As you can see, the whole neighborhood is out of power. So see you later, guys. I'm gonna try to come back when the electricity is gonna be back. See you guys.